All right, welcome to the kitchen pail lesson. Okay, so I'll be doing a lesson on the kitchen pail and the water pail separately. Hopefully you're watching this one first, but it's not really that important if you do watch them in opposite order. So the kitchen pail is a pail that we put a whole bunch of kitchen supplies in. And what we do is we have a list of everything that's going to go in the kitchen pail, and we tape that to the side of the actual kitchen pail, which I have right here. And so it goes on much like this, okay? And it's taped on using packing tape. We cover every single piece of the paper so it actually lasts the entire trip, and it has the list of things that go on it. So even when you're in the middle of a trip, you can look at the list and see what goes in. And it works basically from top down to bottom, and it kind of even sometimes explains how to pack things in here. Now, once you have everything packed into the pail, you'll have to put the lid on, and it comes with a lid. And I'm going to show you the lid here. First of all, I'm going to show you that the lid has a little bit of a, if you can look here, this ridge here is the thread to put the screw top lid on, and these are little clips that allow it to lock on and making it basically animal proof. So that's how this lid works. It's really quite handy. The lid, and this one is a blue lid. We use a blue, different colored lid sometimes to identify which group people are in, although some of them are all white. And we just put colored paper on. And so I use a blue sheet of paper to put your instructions on. So this particular lid goes on like this, and it just screws on gently. And I often use both hands on opposite sides when I put it on, and you can hear the clicking. That clicking is it going past those locks. So now I cannot unscrew this. It will not let me unscrew. I don't have to screw this on like ridiculously tight. Just snug it up and it's good. It has a seal all the way, a gasket all the way around the lid here to help it from allowing water in. It's not going to water's not going to run into it. Now, once I want to take the lid off, I'll do this. I'll stand up here for a second. This little red clip needs to be pushed in, and then I need to rotate the lid counterclockwise. So I'm going to go like this and push, and now it kind of comes undone. And again, I can twist it back on like that. And I don't need to push this on it when I'm tightening it up, but I do need to make sure that it is seated properly and not cross-thread or off. It's a pretty loose system. Works really good. Okay. So that's our pails, and we're going to show you how we pack our kitchen pail here. So what I'm going to do is hold up the items. So the first item that goes in is what's known as a set of nesting pots. And this is what it looks like when it's all packed away. And I'm going to take it apart and show you what's all in here, because this isn't empty. It's actually full of a series of pots. So first of all, the lid of the big one comes off. And that's a lid there. These lids that come off can actually work really nice as frying pans. I'll show you that in a minute as well. Okay. Then a medium-sized lid comes out of the medium-sized pot, and then out of the small pot comes the small lid. And inside that, I have three sets of pots: small pot, medium pot, and of course my large pot. And so the whole thing stacks back together. Now, one thing you should know is that inside the small pot, I have a couple of items. So you'll see here as I tip this down that I almost always keep in here. So what do we have in here? First of all, I have my isobutane stove. And if you watch the video on the stove, so you can see how this works and how we put it together to use it with the isobutane fuel cylinders, which are also going to go into this pail. Okay, so that I just set that aside. I almost always have a lighter in here. I mean, if you're going to cook with that stove, it's nice to have the lighter handy. Usually I put this in a Ziploc baggie, and the reason I do that is if it does get wet, it is a lot more difficult to operate. So keeping it dry is important. So I'll often have a small Ziploc baggie in here. And then I have this really nifty thing called a pot holder. Okay, this is a pot holder. And you'll notice that each of these pots does not have a handle on it. So, I mean, imagine if I boiled water on this thing. How am I going to pick it up? I'm not going to grab it with my hand. I'm going to burn my hand. Okay, so the small pot doesn't even have a handle on it in any form. The medium and the large pots do have a handle that goes over the top. So we do have a way to access them. I'll just show you how they work. This large pot, okay, so if I swing this up, it has little slides on it. You can see the slides here. If it's somewhere in the middle, basically, it'll rotate to the top. And then when I pull it like this, it locks in. There's a little piece that folds under and locks in, and that prevents the pot from tipping one way or the other too far. And so you can actually hold this. There's even a little loop in here, so if you want to stick a stick underneath and hold this up, you can do that. A lot of times just using a glove is an acceptable way to do it. I can, as you can see, it also slides back down. You can leave it so that it sits up, upright, and it won't fall over, which is kind of nice. It has another set of hooks on the top side, so you have to kind of get them in the middle when you want it to fall over to its side, okay? And you do that more for packing. All right, so again, large pot, medium pot, small pot, pot holder. Very important that this go in here. Some people do put the pot holder in the Dexter. That's okay, but then make sure you note that on your list that you're going to make that change and you're going to put it in the pot holder. Okay, isobutane stove and our lighter. And then we put our 3 lids back on. And just to show you with one of the lids, I'll use the small one here. I have the option to use the pot holder. Oh, I didn't demonstrate how the pot holder works, so this is a good way to do this. I can use the pot holder to grab onto the side of one of these lids, or a pot for that matter. I'll show you how I do it even with a big pot. And I can cook with it like this. Imagine this is my hand is like the stove. I can set it down. I can remove the pot holder, come back. Oh, I'm ready to lift it off. I can lift it off of the stove, put it back, go like this as much as I like. The key is I have to pinch with this pot holder here. If I'm not holding tight, it's not going to work, okay? I can show you here. I can grab the large pot. Look at that. I got the large pot. I got 3 pots inside. I got all this stuff. It's pretty heavy, and I can hold this and just like it's attached to it very well. It works really good. But if I let go with this hand here, over here, if I let my hand go, this thing will go crashing to the ground. I'm not going to do that. But if you have a load of pasta in here that's our dinner for the night and you drop it because you let go with that handle, that is not a good thing. We've had to wash food off. We've had to eat it off the ground. We've had to do a lot of different things to be able to survive because that's the only food we do have available to us, okay? Now I can take this. Well, I'm going to put the pot holder back in. I'm not going to leave it out. Then I'm going to put the small lid on, then the medium lid, and then finally the large lid, and I'm back to where I was. And this is our nested 3-pot nested system, and it's really quite handy. There's quite a bit in here, and there's a fair bit of weight to this, and it's going to go in the very, very bottom of my pail. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to set it right into the bottom of the pail. It's pretty straightforward. There you go. You can see it sitting in there. I will hold this pail up and show you things that go in it as we go. So the nesting pots are the things that go in the bottom here. Then what we're going to do is put a windscreen in. And I show how you use the windscreen, or you can use it with your cook stove. It's particularly handy when it's windy out, so don't discredit it. So I'm just going to kind of swing this around. Sometimes I have to, this part of the pot is sticking out, and I want that where the handle side is. So I just rotated it in here so it's where the handle is that's folded over, and then it gives me more room to put my windscreen down the side, okay? And that's not a problem. The windscreen's quite flexible. It'll bend. It's just made out of aluminum. And there you go. You can see the windscreen now in there, okay? Now, the next item that I'm going to show you is something called the Dexter. And the Dexter is one of the most beautiful inventions, camping inventions ever made. It looks like this big roll. It was made by a company named Tikla, and for some reason they stopped making them, and I haven't seen another company yet make one quite like it, but this is really handy for large groups, okay? And I'm going to show you how this works, okay? It rolls up and it clips together, and I'll show you how it rolls up and everything. And here we go. We have this wonderful set of kitchen supplies. This is like your kitchen cupboard right here. Look at that. You got all kinds of things that go in here. And on our list, on our paper, they're all listed there. I'm going to set this on the ground here. And I'm going to adjust my camera so you can see it. But also, before I do that, there's the list. And the Dexter is listed at the bottom with all the things that go into the Dexter, everything that goes into it. A lot of little things go in here. It's kind of nice for keeping things organized. It also keeps things clean and off the ground. Prior to doing this, I found we were always finding things on the ground. All right. I'm going to adjust the camera here. Swing it right down. Hopefully now you can see the Dexter here, and I'll kind of go over everything. I'm going to start from this side and show you what's in here. First of all, salt and pepper, okay? So we got some salt and we got some pepper. They come in handy. When things don't taste good, nothing like adding a little salt and pepper to it. Another small Ziploc bag pocket with a lighter. So we got a spare lighter in here in case we need it. Usually use the one in the stoves first. And this one comes in handy sometimes if we need to access it. We also have another pouch here where I put my fire starters, okay? These wax fire starters are really nice. I can put more in with the lighter. I only have one here today, but I can easily get 10 of them into one of these pouches here. And remember, 10 get torn in half. That makes actually 20 fire starts. I can't imagine you're going to start more than 20 fires in the wilderness, okay? Now I'm going to go across everything that's in here. I'll hold the items up. This is a sharp knife, okay? A really nice sharp knife that has a little sheath on it. It's light. It's simple. It's for cutting food. It is not for using with wood or other aspects, okay? This is strictly for cutting up our food, and we do our pepperonis and we do various other things. Sometimes people use their own knives, but I really, really like these nice little sharp knives to have along, okay? Beside that, I have 2 spoons, 2 forks. Okay, these are metal ones. I bought these at the dollar store. They're cheap. I even have 2 knives here. Okay, they're fairly light, but they are metal, and they're sometimes good to work with. I use them mostly for cooking. They are not really for eating with. Okay, I'll get to what we use to eat with. That's why we don't have like a whole bunch of them. We just have 2 of them. And so they slide back in here anywhere like this. You'll see how I'm just sliding them in. There's a nice little kind of elasticized band here to help prevent things from falling out. I have a pair of scissors. I usually keep those handy just in case we need them to open something. And they're just little scissors, but they can be very handy. Okay. Then we have a set of sporks. This is what we use to eat with. Everybody should have one spork. Okay. And the spork has a spoon on one side, a fork on the other, and this is what we generally eat with. I encourage people to bring their own knives if they want to have a knife to eat with. So your own jackknife is a good idea to have along on trip, but these sporks are there. They're flexible. They will break, okay? Be gentle with them. Don't scrub the crap out of them. We have had some people break them when they're washing them, okay? And they're not really super cheap either. They're like a couple bucks a piece. Next up is the saw. I have a folding saw. Okay, this is a nice saw. It opens up and has a really nice serrated edge. Be very careful using this. There's a little video on how to use this folding saw and firewood collection, what kind of things to do and not do. Okay, so watch that and you'll learn more about it. Okay, I'm going to stick it back in here. I like it. We didn't always put it in. Sometimes people just throw this in the pail somewhere. That's fine, but I kind of like it in the Dexter. It just kind of helps keep things tidy. Another thing we have in here is a cheese grater. We do make some pizzas and do use cheese a fair bit on trip. Cheese keeps quite well even at room temperature, surprisingly enough. And this allows us to grate some cheese, which I find allows it to melt better and just cook with better. So we did put one in. They're fairly light and not that expensive. I then have a large spoon. My large spoon is used for stirring and cooking with, especially when we're doing pastas and stuff like that. Okay, I have a pair of tongs. These tongs can be very handy. Somebody drops something very important into the fire and they want to get it out quickly. You can use some tongs, put a pair of gloves on, reach right into something and grab it. If I've had kids drop their chicken in and, oh, my chicken's gone, I can't eat it. And I run over, grab the tongs, and within 30 seconds, I'm able to pull it out. Maybe it's a little bit charred, but usually it's not too bad, and they're able to eat their chicken still. I have a ladle, and the ladle is crucial. We use this with the water pail. If you watch the videos on water, filtering water and the little bug stove, you saw how we have this large pot of water. Well, rather than having to lift the pot off and pour things here and there, we can just scoop out a little bit of water, put it into a cup, put it into a bowl, use it for hot chocolate, use it for coffee, use it for oatmeal, a lot of different things, use it for dehydrating small amounts of food. We can measure the amount of water in one large scoop at home, and we'll know that it's like, maybe 200 milliliters. So if we need X number of millimeters, we know exactly how many scoops to put in. It's very useful. I use the ladle quite a bit, and it's almost always kicking around with the water pail. And then last but not least, I have a spatula, and this is for cooking. You could use it for cooking eggs, but we use it mostly for cooking pancakes, okay? And these are all plastic, all fairly flexible, so that when they go into the pail, they can be manipulated a little bit, okay? Now, it always starts by rolling up by the salt and pepper side, and I just kind of roll it as tight, as snug as I can, and all the way along like this. Hopefully you can see this here. And then there's a couple of straps that come around and clip on to the Dexter and seal it up. Wonderful, wonderful item that we have added to our camping gear. I added this about 4 or 5 years ago, but prior to that, all the time things were getting lost and dirty and all kinds of problems. And so I have it rolled up like this. It's sometimes a little awkward with the spatula sticking out, but that's okay. You can actually pull it right out if you want to. And now I'm going to bring the camera back up. There we go. Hopefully that's a good spot. And now I have my pail. And what I do is I always put this in with the spatula and the ladle head down, okay? I want them down. And it's really important that it go well below the lip here, okay? It's got to be below this level. It can't be sticking up, because when the lid goes on, the lid has to spin, and it actually sits in about 1/2 inch here. So it's really important that this is down, okay? There is plenty of room. You can adjust it to whatever side you want. Usually adjust it away from the windscreen. So the windscreen is on this side here of the pail, and then this is this way, and that way the Dexter sits down just a little bit more. So what's next on the list? So I look at my list, and the next items that they've put in are isobutane cylinders. And the reason is I want to put these in underneath the Dexter, the side that it's leaning against. So I'm going to set in a couple of these fuels. Sometimes if I want 3, I'll put one in the water pail. I don't need it all the time. And when it becomes empty, I put the empty one in the water pail. We do have to take them home with us. So those 2 items are in there. I've got 2 in there. Now, the next thing I'm going to put in is a pair of work gloves. I sometimes have 2 pairs of these if I can find it. I only have 1 kicking around right now, but these fit in nicely, just almost any hole, any spot around the Dexter you can find in around the fuel cylinders. Lots of space in there to put some work gloves, okay? Next up is I'm going to put in a frying pan. Now, we bring specifically a frying pan along. I found these for fairly good price, and really like them. They're a ceramic style one, and we use them mostly for cooking pancakes. And I love to have pancakes on the trip. They're easy to make. They're fun. We can do some neat things with them. You'll see that I'll do a demonstration on cooking pancakes. So I just take this handle down alongside the Dexter and nice and tight in there. And you can see I can kind of find a spot beside the Dexter to fit it in. And look at, there we go. Okay. Look at my pail filling up. It's not quite full. I got room for a few more things. And the last few things I put in are items that could go in the water pail if I can't get them in here. And what they are is bowls and plates, okay? We need to eat from things. And I got a few examples here. These are some nice bowls. I even have some smaller bowls at the school tucked away in the cupboard, really little. I usually bring 1 bowl for every 2 people, and you may say, well, how's that going to work if everybody wants to eat oatmeal? Well, we take turns, okay? Somebody eats, usually in the mornings when this happens, we don't use the bowls as much. Sometimes I find a really good bowl like this, good sized bowl like these Tupperware ones. You can just bring this and forego a plate and just always use a bowl. Lots of people do that that are wilderness campers. The bowl is actually more effective than the plate. You can use it for more things, and you can still put your rice and your potatoes and whatever it is you're eating in this almost every time. You don't even need a plate. If you think you need a plate just once, you might even bring some paper plates for that one meal, and then you can just put them in the fire and be done with them afterwards. But at any rate, the bowls can tuck in here. And then we have different plates. I prefer these smaller little children's plates. I know it's not quite as handy. You can't get all your food necessarily on there, but you can eat in multiple shifts. And so I can just tuck those in. And I also have some larger plates. These are plastic ones. These are ones that are made out of Lexan. They're really good quality. And a lot of times I can just lay them right here on top like that. And you see, I've got my plates right in on top. So I'm able to get all my plates in here. I got enough for at least a group of 8 to 10 people. And keep in mind, like, even if you were short 1 or 2 plates or something happened and one got burned or destroyed on the trip, you can always eat in shifts. It's not like it's a big deal. Very often when we're cooking in the bush, that's what happens anyway. So to just show you the end product here of how full the thing is, and if I take these plates off, you can see this side of it. It's a pretty full pail. Okay, a fair bit of weight in here, but not crazy heavy. Not as heavy as some of the food pails. And then, of course, we have our lid. I'm just going to tip this down, and you can see me a little better. Maybe do this. So, again, I put both hands on either side, and I just kind of spin it around. You can hear it clicking, and I'll put my feet on the bottom just to hold it and give it just a bit of a tighten. Okay, and I'm good. My pail is sealed. Last thing I'd have to do is tape my kitchen pail label onto here so I know what goes in, where it goes, all that stuff. If I change things, I change things on this, okay, on the paper. If the paper will change, then I can change it on here before trip. We know where everything is supposed to go, and it makes things handier. This is really crucial, especially when you're camping in a large group. It's not as important maybe if you're going out with just you and a buddy because there's just 2 of you, but when there's a large group and people are taking on different chores and responsibilities, I can't express the importance of making sure you have some sort of list so you know where everything goes. All right, that's the kitchen pail. Hope you enjoyed the lesson and got something out of it. Next, you can watch the water pail.